once again to the Imaginary Gallery. This is TJ, your host. Tonight's topic is recognizing abuse. Many times we experience abuse and don't realize that's what it is. We just think it's something else, especially if you're dealing with a covert narcissist or other type of covert cluster B monster. I'm referencing a book. It's called Why Does He Do That?, which is by Lundy Bancroft. The very first chapter is what I'm looking at, and paraphrasing, he asks you to listen to the voices of these women, which this book is written for a lady being abused by a man. Now it's possible for a man to be abused by a man, or a man to be abused by a woman. So it really is kind of gender limiting, but we will expand it to include all those. But these are the types of quotes you may hear from these particular women or men.
It's like he's two different people.
Sometimes it feels like I'm living with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, I don't think he really means to hurt me.
Sometimes he just loses control.
Everybody thinks he's great.
I don't know what it is about me that sets him off.
He's fine when he's not drinking or taking drugs. But if he gets drunk or gets high, look out.
Sometimes I feel like he's just not ever happy with anything that I ever do.
He has scared me a few times, but he never touches our children.
He's a great father.
He calls me repulsive names, and then an hour later he wants to have sex. I don't get it.
He screws up my mind sometimes.
But the thing is, he really understands me.
Why does he do that? Now, our author tells us that these types of words come from targets or victims who are describing their anxiety and inner conflict regarding their relationships. Each of these targets or victims know that something's wrong. Something is very wrong. They just can't put their finger on what it is. Every time this person thinks she's got her partner figured out and that she finally fully understands what's bothering him, something else or new happens. Something changes, and the pieces just will not fit together. Each of these people are trying to make sense out of the roller coaster ride that the relationship has become. And then he goes into an account of Christine. Christine's words are, "When I first met Maury, he was the man of my dreams. It seemed too good to be true. He was so charming, he was so smart, he was the funniest guy I've ever met. Best of all, he was totally crazy about me. I opened up about all kinds of things, difficult times I'd gone through over the previous few years, and he was so much on my side about everything. And he was also really willing to just do things. Whatever I wanted to do, no matter what it was, he was up for it. The first year or so was just great. Now, I just can't really state when things started to change. It might have been around the time we actually moved in together. It started off with him telling me that he needed some more space. And I was confused because before all this, it was like he wanted to spend every waking moment with me. Then he began to start criticizing me and complaining about little things I did. He would tell me that I talked too much and I was self-centered. Maybe I am. It is true, I do talk a lot. But earlier it seemed like he couldn't get enough of talk about me. And then he would say I just wasn't doing anything important with my life. Now, he must have big ambitions, I know he does. Maybe he's right. Maybe I should do something more with my life. But I'm happy with what I have. Then it was my weight. It seemed like every day he was telling me that I needed to work out more. To tell you the truth, he seemed to want to have sex less and less. In fact, if I ever tried to be the one initiating it, forget about it. We're still together, but I think he's going to leave. I just can't seem to live up to his standards. I'm trying, but he doesn't think so. And now, when he gets really angry or frustrated, he says things that really cut me down. A few days ago he said, "You're a lazy bitch, just looking for somebody to live off of, just like your mother." I didn't get that. I've contributed a lot. I haven't worked for the last 2 years since I had a baby, but I'm getting ready to go back soon. I don't really think he meant these things he said, but still. He says I've changed a lot, but I'm not so sure. It's me. Sometimes, for a few days, he will seem like that guy I knew at the beginning that I fell in love with, and I get hopeful. But then he slips back into being unhappy with something I did. I set him off somehow. I just don't know what to do. What am I doing wrong? Now, this lady was troubled by several questions. What had happened to the man she was in love with so much? Why was he insulting her all the time? What could she do to stop these explosions? Why did he think that she was the one who'd changed? Other that are quite different or distinct from Kristen's, but they also feel just as confused as she does. For example, here's Barbara. Barbara says that Fran is the quiet and shy, but cute as a button, and I had a crush on this person the day I met him. I really had to chase him. It was hard to draw him out. We'd go out and have great discussions, and I just couldn't wait to see him again. But 3 weeks would go by, and he'd just say he wasn't feeling well, or that his sister came in town, or whatever. And a few times he missed out on our dates that we had planned. Well, finally, he opened up. Turns out he had been severely hurt previously. He had been cheated on a lot. Women had just done some horrible things to him. He's just afraid to get close ever again. Little by little, he came around, but I was definitely the pursuer. I tried to show him that I wasn't like the other women that he'd been with. I'm not flirtatious. I don't show my body off to other men. I'm just not like that. But Fran wouldn't believe it. He would always say that I was making eyes at other men at the next table over, or that I was checking out somebody else who had just walked by us. I really feel bad for him. He's so insecure. His mother cheated on his father when he was growing up. I guess that makes it even worse. I was so eager to get married because I thought he'd feel secure if he knew that I was his. But he was very reluctant to commit. When we finally did tie the knot, he was more trusting for a little while. But then jealousy came back, and it's never left since. I've asked him many times for years to go see a therapist, but he gets really angry and says there's nothing wrong with him. A few days ago, we went to a birthday party for one of his friends, and I had this wonderful conversation with his friend's brother. It was nothing but talking. I mean, the guy wasn't even cute. Well, suddenly, Fran was saying that we had to go home immediately because he had a headache. On the way home, it turned out the real reason that he wanted to go home was jealousy. He started yelling, telling me I was strutting my stuff for other men, and so on. He was pounding his fist on the dashboard, and 2 or 3 times he actually shoved me up against the car door. Each time that I told him it wasn't true, he would just jump through the roof. So I stopped saying that. Our kids were sitting in the back seat, and the living daylights were being scared out of them. At my age, it's hard to think about leaving this person. Starting all over just seems way too hard. I just wish he would get some help. Now, Barbara was struggling with issues different from Kristen's. Why couldn't Fran trust her? Why was he isolating her from others? Why couldn't he see that he had the problem and he needs to get help? Was he going to hurt her badly someday? Would her life ever get any better? At first look, the two abusive people sound nothing like each other. One is young, popular, energetic, and assertive. The other's socially awkward, easily hurt, and passive. Fran's physically violent sometimes, whereas Maury isn't. But are they as different as they seem? Or do they both actually have the same set of issues under the surface, driving their behaviors? These are some of the questions for which we'll find answers ahead. Consider one last example. Laura. Laura's talking about Paul. He's a great guy. We dated about 6 months. Now we're living together for several more months. We're engaged. I feel so bad for him. His ex-wife accused him of abusing her, and it's a lie. He did make one mistake, though. He did cheat on her, but she's determined to get him back for that. She'll stop at nothing. Now she's even saying that he was violent with her, and said that he slapped her a few times and broke some things. That's ridiculous! I've been with him for over a year now, and I tell you, he is nothing like that. Paul has never even raised a hand to me. In fact, he's tried to help me get my life back together. And he's always really been there for me. I was in a really bad place when we met. I was depressed and I was drinking way too much. I'm doing so much better now, though, because of him. I hate that witch for accusing him of doing those things. We're going to work together. on getting custody of his kids because she is out of control. Now, Laura wondered how Paul's ex-wife could accuse such a wonderful man of being abusive. She was so angry about it that she didn't notice several warning red flag signs about her own relationship with this guy. If Kristen, Barbara, and Laura were to sit down together and compare notes, they might decide that their partners couldn't be more different. The personalities of the three men seem to be miles apart, and their relationships follow very different paths. Yet Maury, Fran, and Paul actually have far more in common than meets the eye. Their moodiness, their excuses, and their outlook, they're all bubbling from the same source. All of these men are abusive.
Back to the subject of sex. As I said before, for me, sex is a recreational sport. I don't care who it is that's entering me, as long as it's hot and it's breathing heavy and it's telling me how pretty I am. I don't care who it is or what it is. Dog, cat, boy, or a girl with a strap on. I couldn't tell you this either because I made it feel like when you and I made love, it meant that we really were in love together. It made it seem like we were an item to last forever. You didn't need to know that you were just one of many. Oh my God, I couldn't tell you that. I knew how conservative you were, and I wasn't going to blow that. Do you blame me?
So, I read in some of the chat rooms that you posted things about me right after I dumped you. I couldn't help but remember one of the comments you made was that you thought that I had just used you for sex. Since we're talking about sex, honey, we didn't have sex. Whatever we did, that wasn't sex. It's no wonder why I had to find several other partners that you found out about later. You weren't doing it for me. Sure, you were doing it for me financially, but a girl's got her needs, and you didn't need to know about that. I had to do what I had to do. I wasn't using you for sex. You didn't give me hardly anything.
Let me clue you in. To me, sex is being in a room with at least 7 or 8 people, more if possible, and all of us taking off our clothes and exploring each other's bodies.
We don't waste time getting to know each other's names. That's pointless. We get down to business. Thighs are spread open. Tongues are stuck out, which you wouldn't know about that. Partners switch. If I'm being mounted by a stud, well, that stud will step aside and another one will come in its place. Pun intended. You were just too vanilla boring. I couldn't tell you these things. Well, honey, it's okay to tell you now. You're white. I am the narcopath. Mm-hmm.